So you're a business looking into hiring an influencer to market on your behalf, to drive traffic and to get more sales inside of your business. As both an entrepreneur who has worked with influencers and as a longtime professional influencer, I've got a lot of tips and tricks that you need to be taking into consideration as you're doing your research. Now, this is going to be an ongoing series to help you make the best selections for your business and to work with the right collaborations that will lead to sales for your business. So make sure you hit that subscribe and notification bell as we continue to help educate you and give you freebies and resources to take a lot of the work out of this for you. Let's dive in. Now, before you even start to look for influencers, you have to get really clear on your audience, because as you are hiring these influencers, you need to be looking for a very specific and select group of people that they speak to in order to hire the correct person. So while we may want to say my products are for women in their 20s or 30s or 40s, that's a very dramatically different season of life for those women in that age range. So we need to get hyper specific. Let's just look at people in their 20s. People who are in their early 20s are just getting out of college, they're starting their first jobs, they're renting their first apartments, they're living their life on their own terms as a young adult for the very first time. Whereas women in their mid to late 20s are probably starting to get settled into their businesses, they are in long-term relationships, they're starting to have kids, and that's a dramatically different worldview, and there's going to be a huge monetary difference as well in the income that they're making. So you need to be very specific within a couple of years of who you're identifying for your product. And this can change between the different campaigns that you run. So don't feel like you have to have a teeny tiny little selection and that's all you can ever market to. We're talking about one campaign that you're running right now. So make a choice on who you're going to be advertising to. Is it going to be young stay-at-home moms? Is it going to be men who just got out of college and are starting in the workforce? Is it going to be people who are retiring and living their best life now that they are done with the workforce? Identify who you want to reach out to, because as you start your influencer search, you need to find people who actively and consistently speak to that audience. So get incredibly clear on it. And now we're going to start looking for influencers. Now that you have your audience nailed down, you need to start your influencer search. So you are looking for people who are specifically speaking to the audience you want to reach. And the more niche down and hyper specific you can get, the better qualifications you will be able to get when you work with that influencer. For example, I had a company, a major television network, recently reach out to me about promoting their new movie. Now, this movie is a book-to-movie adaptation, and because I'm a multi-time best-selling fiction author, I talk to a lot of book readers who might really like a book-to-movie adaptation of a dark, twisted tale. And so they came to me to ask me to represent them to my audience. But if you come to me with a product that doesn't fit with one of my audiences, that's not going to be a great fit. So identify your audience and then think about where they're going to hang out. If they're young stay-at-home moms, where are they hanging out on social media and what are they looking at? Are they looking at homemaking things? Are they looking at mommy influencers? Think about who they would follow to improve and entertain inside of their life. And now start looking in that space. As you are looking through this space, you're looking for people who are doing a really good job speaking into that specific group. Now keep in mind, as you're looking for influencers, the person you're looking at may not match the exact demographic that you're trying to represent to. You need to look at their audience. Who are they speaking with? So I could be a younger person speaking to an older generation, or I could be an older person speaking to a younger generation. We love a good big sister vibe when it comes to things like social media content. And so if you are looking for somebody who's a little bit younger, you might want to look to somebody who is acting like a big sister or an aunt inside of the space. So you're actively looking for influencers that you think are going to have the correct audience, and then we need to take a look at their audience. And before you spend your time and effort investigating their audience to make sure it's a good fit, I want you to do a quick glance at their content. Make sure that it's quality. We should see high quality photos and videos, good lighting, good coloring, not a lot of pixelation. We don't want it to look like they're taking their content on a phone from 2006. So we want to make sure that it is a higher caliber content creation that we're seeing inside of their feeds. Now, with that in mind, you also want to make sure it fits into your brand's grand scheme. So if you have a bright and bubbly brand, you're going to want somebody who kind of matches those vibes. You're not going to want somebody who has dark, moody imagery, because then if you are able to share it on your story, share it on your grids, or if you are going to be paying them to use it as an ad for what they're doing, you want to make sure it fits with you and it doesn't look weird and stand out strangely inside of your feed, because that won't resonate with your audience. So you need to make sure it's something that vibes on a level that works. It doesn't have to be perfect, it doesn't have to be the exact same, but it does have to be something that's not dramatically different, because that's just gonna stand out and not serve your purpose well. So you do wanna make sure you're looking for quality content and content that fits what you're doing and how you are representing your brand and whatever they're going to be pitching inside of their content. Now keep in mind, as you're picking an influencer, the bigger the influencer is, the more they're going to cost to work with. So find people within your range. And I'm gonna give you a little bonus pro tip here. You actually want to look for influencers who have a really strong community. We're gonna get to that a little more in a minute, but basically you can be looking at an influencer who has 1 million followers, but their engagement rate is gonna be much lower. While they have a bigger audience, less people are looking to them for advice and recommendations. If you want really quality content and more bang for your buck, you wanna be looking at smaller influencers with tighter circles, because smaller influencers are going to interact on a different way than those big millions of followers people are going to do. They're going to have real connections with these people, and their audience is going to take their recommendations more seriously. So a smaller content creator is actually, in most cases, going to do better for you because they have better connections and stronger ties to their community, which leads to more sales for you, where you could be throwing a ton of money at a bigger person that's just going to be tossing your content into the void, and some people will move on it and some people won't. That smaller person is going to have more people take action. Once you're on their platform, you're going to want to do some investigating on their audience, but keep in mind that most influencers have multiple platforms, and while one will probably be dramatically bigger than the others, they're going to be able to, for a very small fee, cross-post the content they've already created on the other platforms to reach new audiences. So this is going to save you a lot of time and effort. Instead of having to hire 2 influencers to reach those audiences, you can use the same one and just repost that content for a much smaller fee to make more bang for your buck when it comes to hiring these influencers. So see who their audience is on other platforms as well. Now, once you're on their page, you're going to look at their audience. You can go to their comment section and then click on those profiles, see who those people are. If you don't want to go in through their comments, or if you want to just see who's recently followed them, because people who are starting to follow them now are a pretty good indication of who's hanging out with them and how their content is performing to reach what audiences, you're going to go into their following. You can actually see who has actively chosen to follow a person on most social platforms. With that in mind, you're going to just kind of scroll through the feed of who has recently followed them. You're going to tap on a couple of profiles and you're going to get a pretty good idea if he is the correct audience for you. Now, you do want to check out those comments, especially on videos that have done fairly well recently, because that's also going to be a great barometer on whether or not it's going to be a good fit for you. So you're looking to see if the audience that's engaging with them right now is doing what you're going to need them to do. Now, most influencers, or at least a lot of influencers, will have a lot of this information on their website. So as you're researching people and you're finding them on social media, please also go to their website. Please also go and look and see what they're doing out in the world, because a lot of them will have informational pages on their website or kits that they can send you with their demographics, how other things have performed for them. They're going to have a lot of information that they can offer to you. So once you find somebody you think is going to be a good fit and you've done your research, you can then reach out and request some information if you want, if you need to expand on your own research to see if it's going to be a good fit for you. Now, this is the part where most businesses trip themselves up while hiring influencers, because most businesses do not educate themselves properly. And congratulations, you're here, you're educating yourself, you're a step above the rest, which means you're going to be able to save a lot of time, effort, money, and stress when it comes to hiring these influencers. Most businesses that are uneducated on this are looking at the wrong metrics for choosing what influencer they're going to work with. And I've hinted at this a little bit because it's not about vanity metrics. So if you're looking at an influencer and you see someone with 10,000 followers versus someone with 1 million followers, most people are going to say, oh, the person with the 1 million followers is doing better. I'm going to work with them because the other person doesn't have as much going on. It's not going to be as valuable for me. And that just isn't the way that it works. These vanity metrics, the numbers of followers that we have, don't mean anything, because people can so easily buy followers. It's incredibly easy. We get DMs about it every single day on how you can buy 10,000 Instagram followers for $5. So we're not looking at the number of followers. A lot of them are going to be bots, a lot of them will be scam accounts, and some people unfortunately have chosen to buy their followers. Now, if they've purchased followers, or if they're bots, or if they're scam accounts, what aren't those accounts going to do? actually look at the content, actually engage with the content, actually take that person's recommendations, and then move forward in buying things from you. So we don't want people with massive numbers. Some people will have earned those numbers, but because popularity begets more popularity, we know that as somebody starts to grow in fame, other people are going to come and follow them just for the sake of following them because they have credentials. And so now these people who don't care are following them because everybody else is following them, and their engagement rate goes down. So as a business, you're looking for engagement rate. You want to see comments and likes and shares. You want to see people having conversations with that person. So if you're seeing a bunch of really great content, but you're not seeing much in terms of comments or quality comments, because you can buy comments and you can buy likes too, you do not necessarily want to work with that person. So you, at that point, if you see somebody with a massive following that you really want to work with, you need to be aware it's going to cost you a lot of money to work with that person, and you need to get their statistics and analytics before you sign contracts with them. With smaller entrepreneurs or smaller influencers, you're going to have that tighter knit circle. We talked about that a minute ago, and that's going to allow them to be able to market to a very warm audience for you. So bigger creators will have colder audiences, and smaller creators will have warmer audiences because they have that tight knit circle, and that's going to do well for you. So you're looking not for vanity metrics, not for how many people are following this person, but for how their engagement does. How many views are they actually getting on TikTok? Because you can have 1,000 followers or 5,000 followers, which doesn't seem like a lot, but you can get 20, 30,000 views on a single video. So if they're getting high views, you're good. And keep in mind, the algorithm works a little bit weird. So you can't just look at their latest 5 videos. It takes a couple of weeks to get those in the system. So you need to be scrolling back to see how they're doing, because the way that the algorithm works right now is that it pushes out older content later on to get those views. So you really do have to do a bit of research, and you can't rely on just what your eyes are seeing at the top of someone's profile. So with that in mind, we're looking for engagement, conversations, we're looking for views, we're looking for people engaging and sharing, and a lot of these social platforms will actually tell you how many people have saved things and shared things and all this stuff. So make sure you're doing your research and you're looking for people with those tight-knit communities that can actively represent your business to their people and have them take action. Now, once you've found an influencer that you think you want to work with, we need to take another step. I want you to look at them and think, do I have long-term partnership possibilities with them? Can I create an ongoing paid advertisement with them? Because we know that it takes people on average 7 times seeing a product before they're going to buy it or take action on it. So the more that they see these things inside of the feed, the better you're going to do, the more sales you're going to make. So if you hire me to represent your product and you have me do one video, my audience has seen you one time. Now my audience needs to see you in some other capacity a bunch more times before they're really going to take action. Now some people will just love me and take my word for it, and it will be meaningful to them and they'll immediately buy it. But the more they see it, the more likely they are to buy it. So if then you were paying me over the course of, let's say, 2 months, to do several different videos where I talk about it on the 1st of the month, and then I talk about it on the 17th of the month, and then I talk about it on the 1st of the next month. Now that's 3 times over the course of a couple of weeks that my people have seen me talk about it in a different way, shape, or fashion. Now, because I'm spending more time and effort, I'm backing it more, they're not only seeing it more, but they're seeing how I'm using it more and taking more of that trust factor into consideration. Because they like me, they like the content that I'm producing, and they like what I'm saying, they're going to be more likely to try it, even if it didn't click with them on the first video. So you're looking for possibilities for long-term partnership, and it can be over the course of a couple of different videos throughout a week or throughout a couple of months. It could be something where you sign them on for a quarter, or you sign them on for a year, and you then negotiate with them for a really good bundle rate. A lot of influencers will have bundle rates. My bundle rates start at 3 different videos. So if you were booking more than 3 videos, I give you a better rate on those because you're booking them all in the same time to be spread out over the course of a certain number of months. And a lot of influencers will do that too. So you know that you as a business have to continually market and advertise to people. And in doing so, you're going to have to find a way to advertise to them. And if you're looking to pay influencers or to bring other people in to represent you, you're going to have to hire as many as you have to hire to get that word out there. You're going to have to continually hire them. So is it more of an advantage to you to hire 7 different creators to reach their 7 different audiences one time? Or would it be smarter to hire 2 or 3 influencers to do 2 or 3 videos each to reach 3 different audiences multiple times each to reinforce that they should be buying your product? We have to think about this in terms of math. What's going to be the most logistically responsible for you and what's going to be the most financially responsible. Remember, I just told you that most influencers have bundle rates. So now you could hire those 7 different influencers and reach 7 different audiences one time. Or you could hire 3 different influencers for 3 videos each over the course of a couple of months and get a bundle deal, same amount of content, actually less content or slightly more content for less money, for a warmer audience, an audience who is progressively being warmed up and conditioned to buy your product. So that's something you need to take into consideration. It doesn't mean you shouldn't do one-off conversations with these influencers. You absolutely can, but you want to take into consideration, do I have long-term partnership with that? And you don't have to go in with the mindset of I'm doing long-term partnership right now, but it could be I'm going to book 1 video with them or 1 post with them and see how we do. See if we like the content and see if we like the relationship. Then in the future, we can book a longer term relationship with them. But you want to think, do they have long-term partnership potential now? It's kind of like dating. You can go on these one-off dates with people and that's fine. But if you think eventually you want to get married, you're going to want to look at somebody and say, okay, we're doing just a 1 date now, but do they have the potential to be a partner in the future? Is that someone I would want to end up with? And make those choices as you are deciding who you're going to be working with. But we're on the topic of making sure that we're selecting an audience that's going to be warmer for us to lead to more sales for us. You want to make sure that as you're going through this influencer's feeds, you're looking for different series that you can slip into. A few minutes ago, I mentioned that I had a TV network reach out to me because they wanted me to promote their movie. As they were researching me, they might have seen a series that I do called Author Convos, where I have an author and a reader talking back and forth. That fit perfectly with what they were having me market, the movie. So now, as I am putting this video out into the world, not only are they seeing me and my face and my content, but they're seeing it in the context of a series they not only love, but actively look for inside of my feeds. So now I've just taken a very warm audience for this company and made it an even warmer audience because people actively seek out to watch that specific series from me when I drop new episodes. So you want to look and see, is there any way that you can slide into something they've already consistently created inside of their content. Now, this is not a make or break situation. You don't have to be finding those things that you can slip into, but it does help to elevate it, which means you're going to make more for the money you're spending on this influencer. So take that into consideration as you're working on this. And this next step is another thing that a lot of businesses fail dramatically at. So listen closely if you're taking notes. This is one to make sure you're highlighting. As you are finding influencers you think you want to work with, you need to follow their accounts. You need to actively be watching them, not for a day, but for a couple of weeks. You should be actively watching them for 2 weeks or more and interacting and engaging on their content. You want to show up in their feeds, like their posts, comment on their posts, show that you're paying attention to their audience and make sure that you're having conversations with them and with the people who are following them. This not only warms up the influencer to see that you're actively engaging with them so that when you show up in their inbox, they already know who you are and want to work with you because you're an active part of their community, but this warms up their audience even more because the audience has already seen you. They've spoken to you because you're interacting in the comment section and you're engaging with them just on a friendly conversational way. We're not pitching anything. So you want to show up for at least 2 weeks and actively be a part of it. Now, once you reach out, do not stop this engagement. You can slow down, but don't stop this engagement because you want to make sure that this audience is as warm as possible so that you make the most sales possible while spending not as much money as, booking a TV commercial or something like that. So actively be engaged so that the influencer knows who you are and is more inclined to work with you, even if you're not the perfect fit, even if you don't quite fit their budget. They might be able to take less because they know you're a really good active person who's going to make a difference for their audience. So be involved, be engaged, show up, before you slide into their messages. Okay, now that we've picked your influencers, it is time to reach out. I want you to hit the subscribe and notification bell because in an upcoming video, I am going to be dropping an actual email template, a do and don't list of how to reach out to these people so that you are not making any of the silly mistakes that a lot of people do to make sure you have the best chance at getting the most cost-effective relationship involved with this influencer as possible. So that's going to be in an upcoming video, but let me give you just a couple of tips. You want to make sure as you're reaching out, you're introducing yourself, reminding them that they've seen you before on their social medias because you've been engaging, and say why your product is a good fit for their audience. You're literally selling your product or service to their audience. Tell them why you're beneficial to them. You're not talking about yourself. You are not the focus of this. You want to make sure this is a really cool product I think your audience would love. Here's why they would love it. We would love to work with you in order to represent this to your audience. And again, I'll break down everything you need to know in that upcoming video, so subscribe and notification bell, but you want to make sure that you are being very focused on why you're a benefit to their audience and why it would be a good fit for you to hire them. Once you've reached out, you can now start your contract negotiations, which we will be talking about in upcoming episodes. Keep in mind, you are paying your influencers because they're doing the job of like a 10-person team. Photography, videographer, lighting, hair, makeup, wardrobe, styling. We're doing script writing and all of those things that you're getting for a very low cost compared to hiring an entire team. But if you're somebody who doesn't want to pay people, I do have one little pro tip for you. You can reach out to an influencer and request to send a PR box. Now, when you send a PR box, this is an actual physical box full of your products and swag. A lot of it, things that look really good, because when you send it to them, they're not required to post anything, period. So if you send something that's really cool, they're going to do an unboxing just to be nice and to show it off to their audience. It gives them some credibility and it shows off your products for free. So if you do not want to pay for an actual branded post, you can volunteer to send a PR box with absolutely no strings attached. And if they like it, and most people will, they will show it off inside of their stories. It's something I do when I get PR boxes, as long as it goes well with my audience. If it's something really weird, I won't show that. But most things I'll show in my stories. I'll do an unboxing. I'll do a live stream. So you get a lot of my audience's attention without making the commitment of doing an actual contracted branded piece of content. And it's not going to be the same impact as doing an actual contracted piece of content, but you do get a lot of eyes on your products for sending cool PR, and all you have to do is create a really cool swag bag and send that along to people that you could potentially work with again in the future. If you have more questions on how to reach out or how to identify proper influencers for your brand or business, drop those down below, and stay tuned because we are developing this series and we're going to be giving you templates, swipe scripts, and all sorts of things to make this easier on you so you don't have to spend a ton of time finding influencers to market your business.